Hello children, in this video we will be learning to solve quadratic equations using the method completing the square. This is one of the three main methods of solving quadratic equations, and this method has several uses. These uses include solving quadratic equations when we can't factorize them, because we cannot always solve quadratic equations by factorizing. We don't always get perfect solutions to quadratic equations. We can sometimes get decimal values as well. So in those cases, we use completing the square method. And also we use completing the square method when finding solutions and vertex of a quadratic function. A quadratic function looks something like this. So using completing the square method, we can find the solutions of the function. They are the places where the curve intersects with the x-axis. And also we can find the vertex of the curve, which is the minimum or the maximum point of a curve. So in this video, I will explain to solve quadratic equations by completing the square. And in another video, I will explain how to find solutions and vertex of a quadratic function using the same method. Let's directly move into an example here. We have 2x squared plus 8x minus 9. So children, what we have to do is we have to first of all take all the non-x terms to the other side of the equation. Now here, what is the non-x term? It is minus 9. Why? Because 2x squared and 8x, both of them are x terms. But does minus 9 have an x term? No. So we should take it to the other side of the equation. When we take minus 9 to the other side of the equation, it becomes plus 9. So if we rewrite the equation, it will be 2x squared plus 8x equal to 9. After that, we should make sure that there is nothing in front of x squared, which means that the coefficient of x squared should be 1. Now in this situation, the coefficient of x squared is 2. So we should get rid of that 2. In order to get rid of that 2, we should factorize the left hand side of the equation by taking 2 out as a common factor. When we take 2 out as a common factor, what will be remaining inside the brackets? It will be 2x squared divided by 2, x squared, and 8x divided by 2 plus 4x equal to 9. Now we can simplify the equation further by dividing 2 from both sides. We can divide 2 from the left hand side and also from the right hand side. In the left hand side, here 2 and 2 cancel out. So when simplified, it will become x squared plus 4x equal to 9 over 2. So far what we have done were the basic steps to get into completing the square method. Now is the most important part of this whole method. So listen up very closely. In order to simplify this further, what we have to do is we have to take x out of x squared like this. And then after that, we should take half of the coefficient of x. What is the coefficient of x here? The coefficient of x is 4. We can take half of 4. What is half of 4? It is plus 2. And then after that, we should add a pair of brackets, and then we should square the whole thing. I will explain why we are doing this as soon as we finish the example, so please bear up with me. Then on the other side of the equation, we have 9 over 2. And to that 9 over 2, what we should do is we have to add the square of this term. What is the square of 2? 2 squared is 2 times 2, 4. We should add 4 to the other side of the equation. Like this. I will explain why in a second. And now we should simplify this equation. How can we simplify this equation? Here x plus 2 squared we can keep as it is. 9 over 2 plus 4. We have to use addition of fractions. How can we do that? We have to first of all get a common denominator. 9 over 2 plus it's 4 over 1. We should convert this denominator 1 into 2. How can we do that? By multiplying both the denominator and the numerator by 2. When we do that, we get 9 over 2 plus 4 times 2 in the numerator is 8. 1 times 2 in the denominator is 2. And then when we simplify it, we can add up the numerators together. 9 plus 8 is 17. So 9 over 2 plus 4 is 17 over 2. Now we have covered the most important part. After this, we have to solve the equation and find the values of x. How can we do that? We can take square roots from both the sides. Like this. Square root from the left hand side and also square root from the right hand side. But remember, square roots can be either a positive or negative value. Why? Because let's say we have 2 squared and minus 2 squared. What is 2 squared? It is 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. What about minus 2 squared? Minus 2 squared equal to minus 2 times minus 2, which will again be equal to 4. Therefore, square roots can be either plus or minus. And in the left hand side, we can cancel out the square root symbol and the square symbol. We can simplify the expression further. X plus 2 equal to 17 over 2 square root of that plus or minus. After that, we should take plus 2 to the other side as minus 2. So x is equal to minus 2 plus or minus 17 over 2 square root of that. Therefore, the two solutions of x are x equal to minus 2 plus 17 over 2 square root and minus 2 minus 17 over 2 square root. We can keep it either in this fraction form or the decimal form. If we keep it in decimal form, we get x equal to 0.915 and here we get x equal to minus 4.92 when rounded to three significant figures. You can keep it in any way you want, but I prefer to keep it in fraction form because it is much more accurate than rounding off decimals. So these are the final answers of this quadratic equation. Now let's talk about what I did in this step right here. First of all, let's see what is x plus 2 squared to see what's happening. What is x plus 2 squared? X plus 2 squared means x plus 2 times x plus 2. How can we expand this? We can multiply x by x and x by 2 and then 2 by x and 2 by 2 again. So when we multiply those terms together, it becomes x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4. Now we can add up the likely terms together. Here we have 2x and 2x. We can add them up. It becomes x squared plus 4x plus 4. Okay children, now come back to the original equation we had. What was the original equation we had? It was x squared plus 4x equal to 9 over 2. Now can you see that here, if we expand x plus 2 squared, we are not only getting x squared plus 4x, but we are also getting an additional plus 4. That was not there previously in this step right here. Because of this, if we add 4 to one side of the equation and don't add 4 to the other side of the equation is going to be unbalanced. So in order to balance the equation again, we add a 4 to the other side of the equation again. Now can you understand why I added a 4 to the other side of the equation, or why I squared this term right here and then added it to the other side of the equation? Because we need to balance the equation so that it won't have any overall effect on it. Let's move into this example and a lot of other examples so that we can practice what we just did. What do we have to do here? We have to take all the non-x terms to the other side of the equation. What is the non-x term here? It is minus 5. We have to take minus 5 to the other side of the equation. So it will become x squared minus 2x equal to 5. After that, what should we do? We should make sure that there is nothing in front of x squared. The coefficient of x squared should be 1. Now here, already the coefficient of x squared is 1. So we no need to worry about it. After that, we can simplify this expression further. How can we do it? We can take x out of x squared and then half of the coefficient of x, which is minus 2. We have to divide it by 2. What is the half of minus 2? Minus 2 divided by 2 is minus 1. And then after that, we have to put a pair of brackets and square the whole thing equal to 5. And now we should square this minus 1 here. What is minus 1 squared? Minus 1 squared will be minus 1 times minus 1, which is plus 1. Now we can simplify the equation further. X minus 1 squared equal to, what is 5 plus 1? 6. And then we can take the square root of both sides. But remember, when taking the square root of the right hand side, we have to put a plus or minus. Why? Because square roots can be either positive or negative. And in the left hand side, we can cancel out the square root and the square signs. And then after simplifying, we get x minus 1 equal to plus or minus square root of 6. After that, we can simplify the equation further by taking the minus 1 to the other side in order to find x. So x will be equal to 1 plus or minus square root of 6. So there will be two values of x. The first is x is equal to 1 plus square root of 6, and the other will be x equal to 1 minus square root of 6. Those are the final answers. You can keep it in either fraction form or decimal form. It doesn't matter, but I prefer to keep it in fractional form. Why? Because it is more accurate. Let's move on to our next example, which is 3x squared minus 12x minus 7. What do we have to do? We have to take all the non-x terms to the other side of the equation. What is the non-x term here? Minus 7. We have to take it to the other side of the equation. When we take it to the other side of the equation, minus 7 becomes plus 7. So 3x squared minus 12x equal to plus 7. And then after that, what should we do? We should make sure that the coefficient of x squared is 1. But here, the coefficient is 3. We have to make it 1. So what should we do? We have to factorize the left-hand side of the equation. How? By taking 3 as a common factor. If we take 3 out as a common factor, what will be remaining within the brackets? 3x squared divided by 3, it's x squared, minus 12x divided by 3, it's minus 4x equal to 7. Now we can simplify the equation further by dividing both the sides by 3. Divide this side by 3 and this side by 3. In the left hand side, 3 and 3 cancels out. And after simplifying, we get x squared minus 4x equal to 7 over 3. Now we have to use completing the square method to simplify this further. How can we do that? We should take x out of x squared and then half of what is in front of x. Here it's minus 4. We should take half of that. What is the half of minus 4? Minus 4 divided by 2 is minus 2. And then we should put a pair of brackets and square the whole thing, equal to 7 over 3. After that, we should add the square of the value here, which is minus 2, to the other side of the equation. What is minus 2 squared? Minus 2 times minus 2 is plus 4. We add plus 4 to this side of the equation. And then when simplifying the equation further, x minus 2 squared equal to 7 over 3 plus 4. How can we simplify that? 7 over 3 plus 4 over 1. We should get a common denominator. How can we do that? We can multiply the denominator here by 3 and the denominator here by 3 in order to get a common denominator of 3. So when simplified, it will become 7 over 3, stays as it is. Then denominator here, 3 times 1 is 3, 4 times 3 is 12. And then we can add up the numerators. 7 plus 12 equal to 19. 7 over 3 plus 4 is 19 over 3. Now we can take square root of both sides to simplify the equation and find x values like this. And then remember, we have to put plus or minus in the right hand side. We can cancel out the square root and the square signs here to simplify. X minus 2 equal to plus or minus 19 over 3 square root. We can take minus 2 to the other side of the equation as plus 2. X equal to 2 plus or minus 19 over 3 square root of that. So the two solutions will be x equal to 2 plus 19 over 3 square root, or x equal to 2 minus 19 over 3 square root. Those are the final answers. Let's move on to our next example, x squared plus 6x minus 11. Now have a try at this and see if you can do it before I can. What do we have to do? We should take all the non-x terms to the other side of the equation. Here it's minus 11. We can take it to the other side of the equation as plus 11. X squared plus 6x equal to 11. And now what should we do? Complete the square. How can we do that? Take x out of x squared and then half of the coefficient of x. What is the coefficient of x? It is 6. We should divide 6 by 2, which will be plus 3. And then we should put the pair of brackets and square the whole thing, equal to 11. After that, we have to square what is in here, 3 squared. What is 3 squared? 3 times 3, it is plus 9. Now we can simplify the equation further by adding up 11 and 9. X plus 3 squared equal to, what is 11 plus 9? 20. After that we can take square root from both sides like this. But remember, here in the right hand side it will be plus or minus. Here square root and square signs cancel out to give us x plus 3 equal to plus or minus square root of 20. Now we can take plus 3 to the other side of the equation as minus 3. X equal to minus 3 plus or minus square root of 20. So what are the two solutions? X equal to minus 3 plus root 20, or x equal to minus 3 minus root 20. Those are the final answers. Now let's move on to a slightly challenging question, which is 2x squared plus 5x plus 3 equal to 0. Think and try your best to solve this before I do. It's the exact same method. What should we do? We should take all the non-x terms to the other side. Here it's plus 3. We should take plus 3 to the other side as minus 3. 2x squared plus 5x equal to minus 3. What should we do after that? We should make sure that the coefficient of x squared is 1. But here what is the coefficient of x squared? It is 2. We need to get rid of that 2. How can we get rid of that 2? We should factorize it out of the brackets. We can take 2 out as a common factor like this. So what will be remaining inside the brackets? 2x squared divided by 2. It is x squared. And then 5x divided by 2 will be 5 over 2x equal to minus 3. After that, we can simplify the equation further by dividing 2 from both the sides. We can divide 2 from here, 2 from here. Here 2 and 2 cancel out in the left hand side. So when we simplify this equation further, it will be x squared plus 5 over 2x equal to minus 3 over 2. After that, we should complete the square. We can take x out of x squared and then half of the coefficient of x. What is the coefficient of x? It is 5 over 2. So we should divide 5 over 2 again by 2. It's like 5 over 2 divided by 2. How can we simplify this? We can take the reciprocal of 2 and convert this division sign into a multiplication sign. 5 over 2 multiplied by 1 over 2 equal to 5 over 4. So half of 5 over 2 is 5 over 4. Now we have to put a pair of brackets like this and square the whole thing, equal to minus 3 over 2 plus, what is the square of 5 over 4? An easy way to do that is we can square the numerator and the denominator separately. What is the numerator? 5. 5 squared is 25 and the denominator is 4. 4 squared is 16. The square of 5 over 4 is 25 over 16. Here it will be 25 over 16 added up. Now we can simplify the right hand side further. How? By adding them up. In order to add them up, we have to get two common denominators. We can convert the denominator of minus 3 over 2 into 16. How can we do that? Minus 3 over 2. We can multiply both the numerator and denominator by 8. When we do that, 2 times 8 is 16 and then 3 times 8 is 24 minus 24 over 16. So when simplified, it will be minus 24 over 16 plus 25 over 16, which will be equal to 1 over 16, and then x plus 5 over 4 squared. Now what do we have to do? We have to take square root of both the sides like this, from this side and also from this side. But in the right hand side it will be plus or minus, because square roots can be either plus or minus. Here square root and square symbols cancel out. X plus 5 over 4 will be equal to plus or minus. Now here we can take the square root. How can we take the square root of 1 over 16? What is the square root of the numerator? 1. The square root of the numerator 1 is 1. And the square root of the denominator, square root of 16, it will be 4. Here the square root of 1 over 16 will be 1 over 4. Now we can find the solutions to x by taking plus 5 over 4 to the other side as minus 5 over 4. X is equal to minus 5 over 4 plus or minus 1 over 4. So the two solutions will be x equal to minus 5 over 4 plus 1 over 4 and x equal to minus 5 over 4 minus 1 over 4. Here in both solutions the denominators are common, so we can directly add up the numerators. Minus 5 plus 1 will be minus 4 over 4. Minus 4 divided by 4 will be minus 1. X equal to minus 1. And in the second part, minus 5 minus 1 will be equal to minus 6 over 4. We can simplify this further. We can divide both of them by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. It will be equal to minus 3 over 2. Those are the final answers. Let's do another example just like the previous example, which is 4x squared minus x minus 6 equal to 0. What do we have to do? Take all the non-x terms to the other side of the equation. Minus 6 we can take to the other side. 4x squared minus x equal to minus 6 when taken to the other side will be plus 6. Now we should make sure that there is nothing in front of x squared, but here we have 4 in front of x squared. So what can we do? We can factorize 4 out of the left hand side of the equation. Taking 4 out as a common factor, what will be remaining inside the brackets? X squared minus x divided by 4 will be minus x over 4 equal to 6. Now we can divide both the sides of the equation by 4 like this. Here in the left hand side 4 and 4 cancels out. X squared minus x over 4 will be equal to 6 over 4. Here in 6 over 4 we can divide both 6 and 4 by 2 and cancel them out, 2 and 3. So 6 over 4 will be equal to 3 over 2. Now what can we do? We can take x out of x squared and then half of minus 1 over 4. Minus 1 over 4 is the coefficient of x because there is a 1 in front of this x here as well. How can we take the half of minus 1 over 4? Minus 1 over 4 divided by 2 equal to minus 1 over 4 divided by 2 like this. We can convert this in division sign into multiplication sign by taking the reciprocal of 2. Minus 1 over 4 multiplied by 1 over 2. When we simplify it, 1 times 1 is 1 and then 4 times 2 is 8. Minus 1 over 4 divided by 2 is minus 1 over 8. Now we can put a pair of brackets and then square the whole thing equal to 3 over 2 plus minus 1 over 8 squared. We have to square it. How can we square it easily? Square the numerator. 1 squared is 1 and then square the denominator as well. 8 squared is 64 like that. Now we can simplify the right hand side of the equation further. How by getting two common denominators? We can convert the denominator here 2 into 64. How can we do that? By multiplying both the denominator and numerator by 32. 3 over 2, we can multiply both numerator and denominator by 32 here. 2 times 32 is 64 and then 32 times 3 is 96. After that we can add them up together. 96 over 64 plus 1 over 64 will give us 97 over 64. Therefore, x minus 1 over 8 squared equal to 97 over 64. Now what do we have to do? We have to take square root of both the sides. Let's take square root of left hand side and also the square root of right hand side. Remember that we have to put a plus or minus in the right hand side because square roots can be either positive or negative. We can cancel out the square root and square signs here. X minus 1 over 8 equal to plus or minus. Here we can take the square root of 64. What is the square root of 64? It is 8 because 8 squared is 64. But we can't take the square root of 97, so we just keep it as square root of 97 like this. Now we can take minus 1 over 8 to the other side of the equation like this, which will give us x equal to 1 over 8 plus or minus square root of 97 over 8. So x is equal to, here the denominators are common, so we can add them up together. 1 plus or minus square root of 97 over common denominator 8. So the x has two solutions. X equal to 1 plus square root of 97 over 8. X equal to 1 minus square root of 97 over 8. Those are the final answers. Let's move on to a simple example that we all can try together. X squared plus 6x plus 8 equal to 0. What do we have to do? We have to take all the non-next terms to the other side of the equation. Here it's plus 8. We can take plus 8 to the other side as minus 8. X squared plus 6x equal to minus 8. After that, we have to make sure that there is nothing in front of x squared, or that this coefficient of x squared is 1. Here the coefficient of x squared is already 1, so we don't have to worry about it. And then we should take x out of x squared, and then half of the coefficient of x. What is the half of plus 6? It is plus 3. Now we should put a pair of brackets and then square the whole thing. Equal to minus 8 plus the square of what is here. What is 3 squared? It is plus 9. Now we can simplify the whole equation. X plus 3 squared equal to minus 8 plus 9 is 1. And now we can take square root of both sides. Take square root of left hand side, square root of right hand side. But remember, in the square root of right hand side, it will be plus or minus, because square roots can be either plus or minus. Square root and square sign here cancels out. X plus 3 equal to, what is the square root of 1? Square root of 1 is just 1. Plus or minus 1. We can take plus 3 to the other side as minus 3 in order to find 4x. X equal to minus 3 plus or minus 1. So there are two solutions. X equal to minus 3 plus 1, which is minus 2. X equal to minus 3 minus 1, which will be equal to minus 4. Those are the final answers. So children, let's move on to the final example in today's lesson. X squared plus 4x plus 9 equal to 0. What do we have to do? Repeat after me. Take all the non-x terms to the other side of the equation. Here it's plus 9. We have to take plus 9 to the other side as minus 9. X squared plus 4x equal to minus 9. And then after that, what should we do? We have to make sure that there is nothing in front of x squared. Already there is nothing in front of x squared, so we can continue. Then we have to take x out of x squared like this, and then half of the coefficient of x. What is the coefficient of x? 4. And then we should divide 4 by 2. What is 4 divided by 2? It's just 2. Now we should add a pair of brackets and then square the whole thing. Equal to minus 9 plus the square of here 2. What is the square of 2? It is plus 4. X plus 2 squared equal to minus 9 plus 4 is minus 5. Here now we can take square roots from both the sides like this. And then in the right hand side it can be the plus or minus. Here square and square root symbols cancel out. X plus 2 equal to plus or minus square root of minus 5. We can take plus 2 to the other side as minus 2. X equal to minus 2 plus or minus square root of minus 5. But here, can we take square root of minus 5? Can we take square root of any minus value or negative value? We can't take square roots of negative values. So what we will be getting here is a complex root. If we simplify this further, the two solutions will be x equal to minus 2 plus or minus square root of 5i. Here now we are getting a complex number. Since we are getting a complex number, this equation has no real roots. This equation has no real roots. So children, that is the end of today's lesson. I hope you understood everything I explained today. If you understood everything, please like the video and subscribe to my channel for more maths, physics and chemistry related lessons. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.